Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's biggest stars and some of my favourite people, and an old friend. John Owen Jones is the man who stole the hearts of the visitors to Les Miserables in the West End and, of course, Phantom of the Opera. He's going back from September the 7th. He's also got a new single coming out as well, and he'll be appearing on September 12th on the BBC Proms in the Park in Swansea. John, good to talk to you again.
Hi, it's nice to hear your voice again. I've missed you.
Well, I missed you more, and I'll tell you why. There aren't many people who are memorable in the West End, let alone have a big personality and a voice like yours. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. It's very kind of you to say that.
It must be great, though, being you, because so many people come and so many people go, but you keep coming back, don't you?
Well, you know, I look in the mirror every morning and I say to myself, it is great being me. No, I don't know. Is it great being me? I don't know. Look, I've had a very lucky time in the West End, a very, a fruitful career, as it were, and I've been lucky enough to be part of two of the biggest shows in the history of musicals. So, yeah, I guess, luck's played a part, but also hard work, of course. But I have to say, though, I do count my blessings. I am very glad to be me sometimes.
It must be tough, because once you've been Jean Valjean and once you've been Phantom, you can't really go and be a giraffe in The Lion King, can you?
Well, no, not really. I mean, you know what? I could, if I really wanted to, and I was just doing it for the money, I could, right? I mean, there are plenty of career West End performers who literally go from show to show, and they play ensemble parts, and they cover leads, and they're quite happy doing that. But that wouldn't really satisfy my muse, as it were.
Yeah.
So, but of course, when you get to a certain level, when you get to play Jean Valjean, and you get to play the Phantom, there's not really anywhere else you can go higher than that, so you have to kind of go sideways or go in a different direction. So I finished in 2012. I finished the Phantom of the Opera 25th anniversary tour, where I reinvented the role of the Phantom, and previously to that, I'd reinvented the role of Valjean on the 25th anniversary tour of Les Mis, and I'd kind of done as much as I could do with those parts at that time. And so I decided to step away and concentrate on doing concerts and bits of TV work and, doing a new album and things like that. And now Cameron McIntosh has asked me back into the show for a 5-month stint, and it fitted perfectly with my life, I'm at home most of the time. I see my family. I can do a show that I love with people I love in a building I love with audiences I love, and everyone's a winner. So I can't really complain. I'm in a good spot at the moment, really am.
I'm not saying anything new, but of course Phantom is iconic and the songs are anthemic and epic. It must be still thrilling when you get to that moment where you can just steal the hearts of the audience, because there aren't many songs that people remember, but in Phantom, nearly all of them people can sing along with. I hope they don't, by the way.
I'm sure plenty of them do. But as long as they don't sing better than me, I don't really mind. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. It is an iconic show. And yesterday, I've done the show a lot. And yesterday, when a new cast joins, we had a whole cast meeting yesterday. We stood around in a circle and found out who everyone was. And then all the brand new cast members, not the ones who were staying, we all got to sit in the auditorium while they showed us how the set worked. And I've seen the show dozens of times. I've been in it thousands of times. And I was still gobsmacked at what I was looking at. The magic of it is unbelievable. And the set, the incredible set design, and everything that happens before your eyes, coupled with those magical songs, it's just a wonderful theatrical experience,
I think Andrew himself will be the first to admit it is not easy to write a musical that will last forever. He did get it right, though, with Phantom, and it has stood the test of time. What's the recipe, then? Is it the story, is it the theatrics, or is it the genius performers who are in it?
Well, I'd like to think it's the genius performers, of course. Thank you for leading me down the garden path of that question. But I don't know. If Andrew and Cameron and anyone really knew, then they would be churning them out left, right and centre. Lynn is still developing after 30 years. They're still changing it. They're still trying to perfect it. They still don't believe they've got it right. But Phantom, when they first opened it, it has never changed. None of the script has changed, the arrangements, the music, the set design, it has never changed, because they knew 29 years ago that they'd got it right.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it's all magic combined, with the script and the music and all the people working on it, the original team, the original actors and the other actors they brought to replace it, and the way they caretake the show as well, the people who curate it and look after it and keep it going. That's what's kept this show running, really, and it's all to do with the people involved, I think, more than anything else. And it's a perfect storm of subject matter, music and talent.
I last spoke to you in Leeds, I've just remembered, when you were on tour with Phantom. I wondered whether for you that was thrilling, being on the road, taking it to different towns, or is it just exhausting? Because you've got to really reset the show every couple of weeks, haven't you? It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I was surprised by how tiring it was. And, you couple with the fact that I've got a fairly young family. My kids are, just 12 and 13 now, and I missed them terribly when I was on the road, and I wouldn't see them till the weekend, and I was away in Edinburgh and Dublin and all these places which took hours to get back from. But if you add to the homesickness the fact that you are having to re-rehearse the show every month and, having to put it in a brand new theatre and learn the theatre and learn the routes backstage, work with a brand new set of people, well, it's all exciting and stimulating. It does get much more exhausting. And also, you're sleeping in a different bed every 2 weeks, So it does get very hard like that. But familiarity and the comfort factor isn't really there. So, it's tough.
I think a lot of people think that it's just a box that you bring a show into. But, of course, just things like finding your dressing room can be hugely complicated when you've got a mask on and you're in the middle of a show.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, and it's pitch black backstage. So you kind of, they kind of design the shows so you don't just... It's not just a set. They have a whole thing called a wardrobe village backstage as well, where everything is kept in flight cases and stuff. So they basically open the flight cases and all the costumes are lined up in there. So there is kind of familiarity. But, the dressing rooms might be on the 5th floor. They might be under the stage. And then you've got to time how long it takes you to get from one side of the stage to the other. And, you can miss cues because you don't know where you're going. It can be a bit of a chore. But what was always great about being on tour was the fresh audiences, the people who might not have ever travelled to the West End.
Yeah.
And we were giving them a West End experience, and that was always thrilling. Meeting people afterwards is always a great pleasure and a privilege.
I think it's been a great time for the regions. I mean, we've had Wicked, which was just a phenomenally big show.
Yeah.
Shrek's on tour, and they're doing them to West End quality. That wasn't always the case, was it? Certainly with Phantom, it was huge, that production.
Yeah, massive. I think it was probably bigger than the actual West End set. The West End set is like a black box with all little conjurer's tricks, things appearing, and where did that come from, and all that kind of thing. Whereas it was right before you on tour. There was a lot of money spent in it, and I think people appreciate that in Leeds and Bristol and places like that. And you're right. I saw the Wicked tour, and it was definitely the same standard as the West End. There's no question about it, and I think it is a great time for theatre in this country where we are able, with the technology now, where we didn't 20 years ago, we're able to take West End quality stuff on the road, and it's really great.
There's no safe bets when you put a show on. It's still risky.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think part of that is because it's so expensive for people to go to the theatre.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I tend not to go very often because, I could, if I'm taking a family of 4 out to London and it's travelling in, parking, dinner, drinks, tickets. It's the price of a family holiday,
I went to see Mamma Mia last Thursday for the matinee, and the cheapest seat available in the stalls was £117 for one ticket.
Well, but see, that's crazy. I mean, I can understand why things like that cost so much because of all the people that work in it, and it's quality control and stuff like that. But it is so expensive, I think people tend not to want to take a risk with a new show.
It's ludicrous.
That's why at the moment in the West End, I mean, there aren't any theatres free. People are queuing up with shows to put in theatres, but they're all things like commitments and shows which have got a known pedigree of music. People know the songs, What's the new one that opened on Sinatra? No, that's a new one, And it's just the songs of Sinatra. We Will Rock You. I know that had a very successful run. Mamma Mia, again, they're very entertaining. If it's a brand new concept, people are very unlikely to go and see a brand new show unless, like the sequel to Phantom of the Opera didn't succeed, simply because people were going, I don't know, is it going to be as good? Oh, I don't know, I think I'll just go and see the original. Yeah. And that's why Phantom and Limits are also running for so long, because people come back for more because they know what they're going to get.
And the songs, I always ask you this question, how difficult are they on a scale of 1 to 10? When you compare it to Les Mis and Valjean, I mean, you never stop during that show. At least during the Phantom, you do get a few moments to sit and put your feet up, don't you?
Yes, you do, but you can't ever relax, really, when you're doing a show, because as soon as you do, that's when things go wrong.
Right.
I've not done the show now for nearly 5 years in the West End, and I'm very keen. And do you know what? I've got to say, I'm actually really excited to be back in it, even though I'll be approaching my 2000th performance as the Phantom during this short run. I'm still really quite excited by it because we've gone back to the score and the text and we've looked at it and we've seen how can we make this better? How can I connect to this character in a different way? And I've been working with the musical director, Anthony Inglis, who was on the Catherine Jenkins tour with me earlier this year. And we've gone back into what Andrew originally wanted. And what is difficult is to do that, is to do what he's written on the page. And it's very, you can find all sorts of tricks as an actor to come away from that and make your life easier. But I'm determined not to do that this time. I'm trying to give as pure a performance as musically as possible.
Because as fun as this show is, I mean, he is a deeply creepy man, isn't he, the Phantom?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, he's a murderer. But my job is to make him sympathetic to the audience, and they've got to understand why he behaves the way he does. So if people come up to me at the end of the show and they say, oh, I wish that the Phantom and Christine got together at the end, and then my job is done, because I've managed to convince them that he's a good man really deep down, even though he's a murderer and a manipulative liar and a cheat and a crook, right? But there's also a kernel of humanity in him, and it's definitely the most satisfying part of playing that role is to get that out and make people appreciate that.
Well, I come away with a lot of sympathy for him, you see. We have a lot in common because I'm ginger. It's the same sort of curse. You know what I mean?
Everybody's a little bit ginger.
Yeah, it's a life of being an outcast, John. That's what it is.
Well, you know, I just went on holiday to Portugal, and, you know, I'm quite fair-skinned, and I was factor 50 on, and I still turned lobster pink. You know, so... Yeah, it is difficult. I get your pain, but maybe I can appreciate the Phantom slightly because, you know, being Welsh, we're also outcasts.
Yeah, we're all different. I think that's what we're trying to say. You'll love the Phantom of the Opera. It's on at Her Majesty's Theatre, right down in the heart of the West End. You can't miss it. Just off Leicester Square. John Owen Jones is the man who steals the show as the Phantom. And of course, then as a touring artist, we must talk about you and who you've got to sing with. You're one of those guaranteed acts that if you've got a great singer, put you on with them and it's going to kill. That must be fantastic for you because you've sung with some extraordinary people.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've never really thought about it. I mean, I've got to a certain level in the West End, and then when you gain a certain notoriety of what you can do, people come to you, you know. And I've worked now recently I've worked with Catherine Jenkins, Emma Thompson, Bryn Terfel. I'm singing with Bryn Terfel at his 50th birthday at the Albert Hall in October, which should be amazing because Sting will be there, so I can say I've worked with Sting. I've travelled around the world doing this, you know, and it's always, you know, if you get to stand on stage with someone the quality of Catherine Jenkins or Bryn Terfel, you bring your A game, you know, you raise it as much as you can because you want to let the people in the audience who don't know you, let them know that you deserve to be there, you know.
I've said to you before, there can't be anything more thrilling than A, having your voice in the first place, but then having a live orchestra of the standard of groups that you get to sing with. I mean, it must just be extraordinary when they open and that roar of the orchestra. It must be fantastic.
No, it's a privilege. I mean, I've worked with some phenomenal ones, you know, the LSO, the RPO, loads of brilliant ones. And I'll be doing Proms in the Park now, September the 12th, with, I think, BBC Concert Orchestra, who are probably one of the most versatile and accomplished orchestras I've ever worked with. You know, and it is brilliant that one of the best, you ask any actor actually, one of the best moments of any rehearsal process of any show is what they call the Sitzprobe. And it's the first time you sing with a live orchestra. And you all get in a room and then you have microphones set for the singers, and then you hear it in its glory for the first time, and it's always the most thrilling part. I've got my hands full at the moment. I've got rehearsals for Phantom, then opening Phantom in September, travelling to Tokyo and Osaka to do some solo gigs in August, Proms in the Park in September, Bryn Terfel's 50th birthday in October, a series of shows called Broadway to the Bay, which I'm directing and starring in Cardiff, also in October, and a new single coming out. So, yeah, it's pretty busy at the moment.
That's fantastic. The new single's called Kiss the Air, and it's going to be out, in time really for the Phantom return, which we should say is September the 7th. You'll be back in Phantom of the Opera. Again, your album career has been very successful. People will find you in the West End, and you can build a huge fan base, as people like Michael Ball have proved. It's a great way of hitting audience, and they will stick with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, if you think about it, if you're in a 1,000-seater theatre and you sell out every night in the West End, that's 8,000 people a week that will see you. And you add to that, you know, over the years I've played, millions of people have seen me perform, you know. And also then you put me on stage at the O2, for the 25th anniversary of Les Mis or the Albert Hall, and you add those thousands of people in, and if you just take a small percentage of that, and they like what you do and they follow what you do, there's a demand then created for albums, and so I'm more than happy as an artist to fulfill that demand,
Yeah.
And whilst I'm not like setting the charts alight, I do have a very, and I have to say thank you to them on the air right now. I do have a very loyal following, and they're the reason that I get to go to Japan and Bangkok and Melbourne and Moscow last year and Zurich possibly next year. So it's a privilege to do all that. It really is, and I know I've said that before, but to get then to sit in the studio and kind of try and find stuff that I like and the fans will like and put it out there, it's just a joy. It's not really a job. God,
No.
I'm so lucky, aren't I? God.
I was there at that 25th O2 gig, and I don't think I've ever seen a reaction like it. That Alfie Boe is a piece of work, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He definitely is, and he's off to Broadway now, I believe. So,
Yeah.
but what's delightful about that, and don't tell anyone I said this, but he's going to have to copy what I did on the 25th anniversary tour. So it's a bit, because it's that in 2010, Cameron wanted to reinvent the show and do a brand new version and a brand new vision of it for the 21st century. It's been very successful. He's now taken it to Broadway, where it's running again. And I was the first Valjean, and so everything you see in that production that Valjean does was pretty much made up by me. And then the template's been set. So therefore, every actor, and now Alfie Boe, has got to do what I've done.
I'll phone him and let him know about that. Is that okay? And I'll just pass on your regards and just say, just do it like John and it'll be fine.
Though you've got to wonder, though, why didn't I get asked to go to Broadway?
Well, and I think it probably will happen at some point. The trouble is when you got a family, it's not easy, is it?
No, it's not. In fact, I went when my kids were very young, and we uprooted and went over there to what ended up being a very short stay. It was only a few months when Limbers was on there last time. And whilst I love it over there, it's not in my plans for the immediate future, because exactly that, my family.
There are so few people stick out in the West End, and even on Broadway, there are so many stars, but there aren't many household names, and you're certainly up there with the best.
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but thank you very much.
Well, you really are. I mean, and that's the truth. There aren't many people you remember, and when you see you live, and I've been lucky to see you too many times almost, John. I'm turning into your stalker, I think. I think we've been doing the game too long. That's the problem.
Yeah, it goes round in a circle, isn't it?
Indeed it does. And when you see someone like you, it is mesmerising. I can't wait to see you again back in Phantom of the Opera. It's starting September the 7th. John will be back in Phantom. His new single, Kiss the Air, will be out. You can find out more about his new album. I love Wodoy on that new album as well. Really beautiful version of that. Give us your website so people can get that.
Oh, it's www.johnowenjones.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at John Owen Jones.
Great. You're going to Tokyo and Osaka next week. The BBC Proms in the Park in Swansea is on September 12th, and the 20th of October you can see John with Bryn Tervel at his 50th concert at the Royal Albert Hall in London. John Owen Jones, great to talk to you, mate.
You too, mate. Nice to speak to you again.